You have no magic pipes.
Magic pipes activated. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another FunBelt podcast. With me, as always, Dusty Thibodeau from the Warhawk Report, Shane Metlin from the Daily News Record, popular East Coast newspaper, and we have a special guest celebrity. We have a celebrity analyst tonight, Kara Richey, joining us from Jonesboro, Arkansas. Kara, you have like 1,000 different titles. If you wouldn't mind sharing them with us right now, we'd really appreciate that.
All right, let me take a deep breath.
Right.
Monday through Friday, I am the host of the Workday Red Zone on the Ticket Radio Network. That is from noon to 2. And, of course, that airs in Jonesboro or streams online at 953theticket.com on Arkansas State football game days. I have 2 different roles. I host Wolf House, which if it is a away game is the pregame to the pregame. If it's a home game is the post game. Alongside Justin Clifton, we recap everything that happened. And then additionally, that airs, by the way, on 107.9 KFI. And then additionally, I am the host of the official EAB Red Wolves Network Sports Network pregame show, the Arkansas Ford Dealers Tailgate Show. So that starts 2 hours before kickoff, also on A-State football game days. I think that's it.
Wow, that's a mouthful. That's a lot. But if I recall, Wolf House, the post-game show, used to have live call-in, and you guys kind of stopped doing that. Is there a reason for that?
You're the reason, Jeremy.
Well,
I kept calling in heavy breathing.
Can I drop F-bombs on the pod? Because that's what happened.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's why we have it.
That was, there was, every great once in a while, you just have like one inseparable douchebag who decides to ruin everybody's fun. And that's kind of what we ran into a little bit on Wolf House, but that's all right. The past couple of years since we've stopped taking the phone calls, we brought in an additional guest host. Last year it was standout former offensive lineman Jacob Steele. This year, former all SunBelt selection Justin Clifton. So I kind of like this setup because now when we do these and we get to recap certain plays and things like that, like I feel smarter when I'm getting to sit next to somebody who has played that much football and played it at a high level, and then they get to break down, what went right and what went wrong.
I've been listening to Justin Clifton, and he does kind of give you that extra sort of insight into what's going on with the defense that you normally wouldn't be able to keep up. So I know you guys probably aren't listening to the Wolf House in Jonesboro. You probably don't get that reception in Houston and way out there on the East Coast, Shane, but it's a wonderful show. It's great to have Kara on board. She has an encyclopedic knowledge of the Sunbelt. So we're just like cockroaches when it comes to compared to her knowledge base.
Yeah,
so,
because she was the one at Sunbelt Media Days that found out about the play-by-play and radio guys' text feed. So Kara, have you been able to see any excerpts from this legendary, mysterious feed?
No. There's I still have yet to be invited to the group chat. So there is a play-by-play broadcaster group chat. There is an AD group chat in the Sunbelt. At this point in time, at least at Sunbelt Media Day, there was no Sunbelt head coaches group text. But it can still happen. The season is young. You never know. But unfortunately, I've not seen any excerpts from any of those conversations at this point.
I think like a Sunbelt head coaches group text would mostly be Kurt Signetti just totally ending all threads with like a strange and unnerving like a GIF, like some kind of thing that would just make you kind of, God, what's he talking about? Oh my God.
Yeah, a GIF of himself.
He uses a lot more emojis in text than you would guess.
I was about to ask if he gifts. He seems very intense.
Yeah.
He is very intense.
He's probably more likely to join a group chat without Jamie Chadwell in the mix too. So let's put that way.
I feel like those two are like the complete opposite guys too. They look like the two guys that would end up like the cop, the straight and narrow cop, and then the sort of rookie cop that breaks all the rules, and they somehow get together and solve the crime. That would be a great show. Chadwell and Signetti. Are you kidding me? Right. We should pitch that.
I tried at one point in time to talk up like a SunBelt network channel where
Yeah.
you would have like, oh gosh, well at the time like Danny Casper was the head coach at Texas State, so there would have been like Keeping Up with the Caspers, and there would have been the Real Housewives of Statesboro, and unfortunately, I just cannot get anybody else on board with me. It was really frustrating.
I would totally watch a Real Housewives of Statesboro. I bet that would be nothing but drama. But smooth segue here. Speaking of drama, last night, did you guys all catch that game? I just want to know, I'm gonna raise a hand. Did everybody catch that game last night? Appalachian State versus Coastal Carolina in Boone, a full house in Boone. Did everybody see it?
I tried to, but I was tired
Oh my
from a
God.
weekend trip,
Oh.
and
Okay.
I did watch the highlight package also.
Okay. Metlin?
I saw the highlights too.
Oh my God, I saw it from top to bottom. Kara, tell me you saw the whole game.
I had it on the whole time. I paid attention in the first quarter. I paid attention in the fourth quarter. I kind of zoned out in the middle. But to be fair, at the very beginning, it looked like Coastal might run away with it.
Yes.
Of course, App, got it together, made it a game. It was very competitive throughout, and really, it was kind of everything I wanted to see from being like a SunBelt fan without necessarily a rooting interest, because you had some good moments, you had some crazy plays, and then at the end it got weird, and those are always my favorites.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about maybe a repeat of the Cristobal kneeling fiasco. Didn't happen. But I tell you what was a fiasco was that Appalachian State backfield in the first quarter. It was constantly Coastal Carolina, run, deep pass, big play. It's like they couldn't figure out the formula. And then suddenly Appalachian State buttoned down and figured it out. But maybe a little bit too late. Maybe it was just too much to overcome those 2 touchdowns. Grayson McCall at times looked like the old Grayson McCall, and Coastal Carolina at times looked like the old interesting Coastal Carolina, playing that Jamie Caldwell kind of offense. And then sometimes it didn't so much.
What I found wild about that game was actually, Grayson McCall set a career high in passing yards in that game. And it was only somewhere in the neighborhood of 373 passing yards.
Yeah.
And I thought that was nuts, because I swear to God, the first time he played against A-State, he threw for at least 500 yards. So I was stunned to learn that tidbit last night. But, you think about the Coastal offenses of the Chadwell era. One, they were also excellent at running the ball. So they had a good balance. And then, also McCall's been able to make plays with his legs as well in his career. So when you really stop to think about it, it wasn't that staggering, but it just it caught me off guard. I was surprised when they said that last night on the broadcast.
You mentioned the tidbits of the game.
Yeah.
The one that surprised me, Lane Hatcher was number 2 in
Yes.
passing career passing touchdowns.
I did not know that. And he threw the majority of those touchdowns for us, for Arkansas State.
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
I mean, it makes sense, I guess, if you go back and think about it, because the year that Lane Hatcher's first year as a starter, when he came in and took over after Bonner got hurt, he was throwing to one of, if not the best wide receiving cores ever in SunBelt history. So those dudes could catch anything and everything. So when you think about it like that, you kind of get it. That team did a lot of damage through the air, and he threw a lot of touchdowns his first season.
If I recall, Hatcher's MO was throw it up in the sky and let Adams or Omar Bayless or Merritt catch the ball. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't really he just had to throw it in the vicinity, and he was going to get a touchdown pass. So, yeah, so the final score, 27-24?
Yes.
Karma.
The final score.
Karma.
Yeah.
Karma.
Field goal made. And a lot of people kind of unhappy now with Sean Clark. Shane, do you think that's fair? I say it to you, Shane, because you have a history of pissing off the Mountaineer fan base. So I throw it to you in an attempt for you to sort of, I don't know, to smooth over, to spackle over your bad reputation.
I think it's fair. I mean, the pieces are in place in Boone to be better than a 500 team, and that's what they've been for the last year and a half. And so I think, the criticism's fair. They made some changes that so far haven't seemed to make a huge difference. And, eventually that's going to, the buck's going to stop at the top, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and to be fair, didn't really have much Nate Noel in that game. I feel like when you're missing your big playmaker, it's kind of hard to beat the Chanticleers. But yeah, people unhappy with Sean Clark. Tibbs, is that fair? Is Clark on the hottest seat in the Sun Belt?
Unjustly, I would say so. But I don't think that they actually pull the trigger. But I do think that App State fan has that expectation that they are a double-digit win team year in and year out. Whether or not that's a fair expectation, I don't think that it is. But I think that Sean Clark is still trying to battle maybe some things behind the scenes that we saw last year kind of rear themselves. I don't think that they were fully settled coming into this year, and we're seeing it again where App State has glimpses of what they're capable of, but they're just not able to put it all together week in and week out.
Yeah, it seems like they have a lot of lapses of just mistakes, things that you like it used to be. There was not a more professionally run football team than Appalachian State. They just seemed to go about their business in such a. In fact, when we had the Sickos committee on the program, it was like that was like the opposite of Coastal Carolina. If Coastal Carolina was freewheeling and sort of spur of the moment, and they sort of made up plays as they went along. Appalachian State just always seemed well scripted, like the whole 60 minutes was a scripted play for them. I will say this about Boone, though. They really did the Sun Belt proud on a Tuesday night, filling up that stadium. Somebody said something like 18,000 people live in Boone. I don't know how many people live in Boone, but they were all there, it seemed, that night, plus some. That was a great crowd, and that's a credit to the Sun Belt, a credit for us. Thank you very much, Boone, for showing out on a Tuesday night. We've had Tuesday night games before in the Sun Belt to empty houses, and we always shrug and go, well, it's a Tuesday night. Not in Boone. In Boone, it was a holiday. So that's just another feather in the cap for the Sun Belt.
I missed who the player was, but my favorite part of that game was the post-game celebration. Of course, App State fan is throwing their beers half drunk, maybe full, maybe empties onto the field. Here comes Coastal Carolina offensive lineman, of course, doing the good old DX. I like to think maybe he was gripping something, but who knows? Takes one of the beers thrown at him and does his best impersonation of Georgia Southern player and chugs that baby down.
He is so lucky it wasn't full of tobacco juice, man. That's exact. There's like a 50% chance it was full of like Skull juice in there, but good for him. I guess he got the right combination. All right, I think guys, unless we have other business to discuss, it might be time for second and short.
I love it.
All right, good. All right, second and short. All right, so here are the rules. Second and short, we try to analyze all games of the week of the Sun Belt. We try to keep it under 2 minutes, although it can get a little longer this time because we have a brief but penetrating slate of Sun Belt to look at. What I do is I introduce the games, and then we do a little round robin where we discuss the games, all of us, and make sort of our consensus opinion. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready for second and short. All right, all games. We just discussed the Tuesday game. All other games are played Saturday, October 14th. All these times I'm going to mention are Central Standard Time. I'm very sorry for you, Shane, but you're going to have
America's time.
It is America's time. Communist time is Eastern time. Central time zone, that's America's time.
You forced me to have to add an hour every week, and I've finally just accepted the fact that you're never gonna play to my audience.
I am sure with your big East Coast education you can do it. But all right, so
we'll settle the difference. We'll do everything on Pacific.
But we're measuring everything in meters and centimeters, so that should even it all out. All right, so first, what? Hang on, are we done? All right, first game of the Saturday, 11 a.m. ESPN 2. 4-1 Georgia Southern, 5-0 James Madison. On ESPN 2, the Dukes are 4.5-point favorites. I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't know. This might be the most dangerous game on the slate for the Dukes. We keep saying, here's what we keep saying about the Dukes, and it may or may not be true. You can pass on the Dukes. The Dukes secondary, a little inexperienced, a little young. But here's what the Dukes figured out. If you're pressuring the quarterback with a tough defensive line, you don't have to worry about your quarterback, the opposing quarterback making big plays because he's running for his life. Shane, what do you expect out of this game?
I don't know what to expect until we see what the weather looks like, because I think that's going to be a big factor this weekend. Okay. 70% chance of rain, and they're thinking it could be heavy and all day, basically. Think that could affect both teams. Think it could affect the crowd. So, it's kind of a wait and see as far as that goes, because which team does that affect more? I'm really not sure.
Georgia Southern ranks 9th nationally in passing. Is that going to be the difference? Kara Richey.
I like James Madison in this one. They're just the top dog right now for me, until somebody knocks them off. And even though there's been a few scares along the way, I just feel like they're a pretty complete team in a lot of different aspects. I do feel like there should be, and there's not going to be, which is unfortunate. I do feel like there should be more appreciation nationally and league-wide as well in terms of what Helton has done at Georgia Southern. Mm-hmm. I mean, so Georgia Tech is still in some ways trying to figure out how to get away from a triple option offense, and Georgia Southern did it in year one, and now they just continue to build on that. The way they've turned into such a pass heavy attack and a good pass heavy attack with good receivers and a good quarterback has been really impressive to see. But I'm picking the Dukes.
So Carter Bradley, Thibodeau, was picked off twice. The last time the Dukes played, they played South Alabama, and really gave Carter Bradley a hard time. Is Davis Brin, is he in with his history for throwing a lot of picks? Will he kind of suffer the same fate?
No doubt he will, but I still feel that this is going to be another game where, regardless of his interceptions, the Georgia Southern offense is going to more than make up for it some way or another. And if all else fails, I mean, Kyle Van Treese is the sideline reporter. So, I mean, they have a good, solid backup option.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, if that's the case, I mean, the Eagles are going to win it. And, I mean, I know Signetti's going to hunt me down. I'm like going to fall and be ran over by a horse and carriage or something like that. But I still feel that this is Helton's year to get second place in the East. And it all starts with this win over James Madison so that they can find their way atop the East standings or in the top two to be able to advance to the SunBelt Conference Championship.
Everybody raise a glass to Dusty Thibodeau. His last night on earth, as the last thing he will see is the sneering, snarling face of a vengeful Kurt Signetti.
With his hat.
So later in the day, 2:30 p.m. on the CBS Sports Network, which I'm beginning to think might be the best sports network for the Sunbelt. They always seem to have their homework done. They're very respectful at the halftime. They don't talk about Colorado for 20 minutes. Troy. Troy 4-2. At Army 2-3. The Trojans are only a 4.5-point favorite in this game. Kara, why are the Trojans only a 4.5-point favorite in this game?
Because it's going to be low scoring. Because Army does, that's what Army does. They hold the ball forever. So when you've got possessions that are at a premium and just a lower amount of drives in the game, then you're not going to necessarily see typically that high, that high line. I don't think it's necessarily an indication of not having faith in Troy or not thinking they can go out and win big. It's going to be a low scoring game. The over under is 43. That's hands down the lowest over under in the belt. I mean, it's 21 points less than the over under for ULM and Texas State. So it's not that Troy is not going to have a successful day. It's just points are going to be at a premium. So I feel comfortable with Troy covering, but again, just a low scoring game.
Dusty, the Trojans have limited their last two opponents, Georgia State and Arkansas State, to just one touchdown, a total of 10 points. Is Troy's defense really just as unforgiving, as unseating as it sounds. I mean, Georgia State, pretty good team. Arkansas State was firing on all cylinders on offense before running against Troy. Is Troy's defense the real thing?
Some weeks, yes. I think they're still a little inconsistent, but when they're on, they're on. But I think the one consistency that the Troy Trojans have had all year long is that offense. And especially with Vidal in the backfield. I mean, Army's surrendered an average of 165 yards a game on the defense. They don't have what it takes to really slow down that rushing attack. And even in the season opener against ULM, it was the running game that really was the difference to propel the Warhawks to that glorious 1-0 victory on the season. I think it's once again the Trojans. I think it's another squeaker like last year, because if you remember, it was a 10-9 game. Yeah, I think it's another tight-knit game. But the SunBelt's coming home 2-0 against Army.
So, Shane, the Black Knights are still pretty good at running, even though they've reportedly changed their offensive scheme. They're still averaging 200 yards a game on the ground. Can they find an opening against Troy?
I don't know. I'm with the other two that it's going to be a low-scoring game, and that opens up the door for weird things to happen. You know, one big special teams play or pick six or something can really change the tide. But, you know, I'm also kind of looking forward to this one, you know, maybe as a 2.5-hour game with the way both these teams want to run the ball. And, you know, that's always fun.
Is there an advantage being at West Point? West Point, I don't know the stadium very well, but from my understanding, it's very small, very cozy. You got a passionate fan base there. Will that have any effect on Troy?
I don't know. I mean, they've played in small, cozy, passionate fan base stadiums around the Sun Belt, right? I mean, it should be pretty used to that.
All right. So I'm telling you this, even though this isn't a full slate of Sun Belt games, there's some really good games being played this week, week 7 in the Sun Belt. Here's another case in point. 6 p.m. ESPN2, Marshall 4-1 at Georgia State 4-1. The Panthers get that home field advantage, 1-point shrug from Vegas. Vegas pretty much saying we don't know who's going to win this game. I'm not sure who's going to win this game. Shane, tell us who's going to win this game.
I don't know. I'm fairly high on Marshall, even after a loss last week. I mean, I think they look like they can do things on offense. I think the defense is going to get it together at some point. And, you know, maybe it's built for containing a quarterback like Darren Granger, which I think is what you got to do if you're going to slow down Georgia State.
So, Tibbs, we talked about Darren Granger. Marshall has Cam Fancher on the other side, but it might be a battle of running backs. Marcus Carroll, 9 TDs this year, second only to Blake Corum's 9. Also tied with Marshall's running back, Rasheen Ali, 9 touchdowns. Is this going to be more of a running back battle than it is going to be a passing battle?
I think it'll turn into that, but I think everybody wants to showcase their quarterback play with Darren Granger doing Darren Granger things and Fancher doing Fancher things. I really like Georgia State in this game.
Okay.
And the reason being is that the Herd has a game next week against James Madison. We all know that no matter whether they're eligible, ineligible for the East title, everyone wants a piece of the Dukes. And Marshall wants their piece of the Dukes next week. I think they're actually looking a little ahead, and they're going to get caught slipping in this Georgia State game.
Wow, that would be rough. Do you agree with that, Kara? Is Georgia State sort of, even though they're favorite, they're kind of the underdog in my opinion on this? Can they slip one past Marshall?
I lean more than anything in this game. I lean towards the over because I don't trust either defense. But I think I lean a little bit more towards Marshall at the end of the day, and not by a lot. I feel like a convincing argument could sway me either way. But I think for me, it comes down to the fact that I just really, really like Rasheen Ali, and I think he's just going to continue to do big things. And I don't know how much Georgia State is going to be able to slow him down. And again, Marshall is probably going to have some issues with Granger. So I don't, it's I'm not saying this based on any faith whatsoever in either defense. I think I like Marshall's offense just a tiny bit more.
Yeah, and here's the thing about that Marshall defense. Seemed like it was pretty stout until giving up 48 points to North Carolina State. That was a big surprise to us on the show that they would have surrendered so many points. I'm sure Georgia State's looking at that and saying, well, maybe we have an opening here. Last game, it's still a good game. You know, you look at the opponents. If you looked at these opponents at the beginning of the year, you might say, it's kind of a, like a not a great way to end the SunBelt week. But it is a great way to end the SunBelt week. 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus, our favorite station for SunBelt football. ULM 2-3 at Texas State. Texas State, the Bobcats, a 16-point favorite. I believe that's even a bigger spread than against South Alabama last week. This Terry Bowden boys, they traded body blows with Appalachian State and looked pretty good. Then they get blown out like 53-7 or 55-7 by South Alabama. A South Alabama team, we have no idea what kind of team they are. They're good one week and terrible the next. Thibodeau, what can we expect from these Warhawks? Are they going to get it together for this game at Texas State in San Marcos?
Bet the over, and I have no idea what ULM's going to do. Is this the Warhawk team that we saw against Appalachian State? If so, I think that they can go to San Marcos and get a win. If this is the team that maybe played Lamar, that maybe played last week against South Alabama, or at least dressed out against South Alabama, no way in hell TJ Finley shatters every record in the SunBelt Conference record book. I don't know which team you're going to get, though, but I definitely like the over in the game. I like a lot of points being scored here because I don't think either side has a consistent defense that they can hold the other side in check.
You know, Kara, that was kind of it was a hard loss for the Bobcats last week against Louisiana. They were winning most of the way. They kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter. The Cajuns' defense had a couple takeaways, had a blocked punt, ended up winning by less than a score. Is J.G. Kinney going to learn from the experience, or do you think that the Texas State Bobcats, as young as they are a little bit rattled?
I would not say that they are overall rattled, but I do think they are still very much working out the kinks. Because if you look at what they've done this season, they go out, and of course, they start with the win at Baylor, and everybody's super high on Texas State, and then just don't play nearly that well against UTSA. Their next FBS game, when they play Nevada, they did not start well in that game at all. They almost let Southern Miss catch back up the following week. They did let the Raging Cajuns catch up the week after that. They're just still kind of going through it a little bit. Clearly, they have an offense that can hang with anybody, but they just haven't been able to make everything consistent across the board. That being said, I don't think they're going to have any issues with ULM. ULM's stats are fascinating to me. I was looking today. So they've scored 91 points this season, right? The Warhawks have. And 40 of them came in one game. Other than that, the other 4 games, they've scored a combined 51 points. And so they do not have the firepower to hang with the Bobcats.
And Tibbs had mentioned that earlier in the season. He was saying how the Warhawks, so the defense on the Warhawks can be good. But his big complaint, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tibbs, is just an inability to score points.
Yeah, they don't know how to finish games. They don't know how to finish drives offensively. They can't move the ball. And as good as their defense is, and I've told you all that from when we were in New Orleans, even way back when, Jeremy, this is a legit defense. Mm-hmm. But with the offense being unable to extend anything beyond a series of 3 and outs, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. You're not going to be as good and effective a defense as you can be.
Yeah, Red Wolves fans hear you and feel you, man. So let me ask you this, Shane. Is TJ Finley, is he a bit under the radar as in terms of being an elite quarterback, not just in the SunBelt, but in all of college football? If the SunBelt had a Heisman candidate, would Finley be atop of that list?
Possibly. I mean, I agree with you about being under the radar as far as, talking about the quarterbacks in the Sun Belt. I mean, he was as good as anybody to start the season. Takes that loss last week, and he kind of owned it, I think, for the team, maybe more than he even deserved to, which I think shows good leadership. But statistically, he's there. He's electric to watch. I don't really know, why he's not getting a little more attention other than maybe the fact that he's just in Texas, where, of all the Sun Belt states, Texas is probably the one where they don't pay as much attention to the Sun Belt.
How bizarre, how horrible. What a strangely astute observation from Shane Metlin on that. Yes, you're probably right. There's so much football going on that Texas State does probably fly beneath that radar. But I do want to congratulate everybody on the segment because we have completed yet another successful edition of Second and Short.
And now for your other favorite part, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
Plugs, promos, and parting shots. We start with you, Kara, where we give either a plug for something you have going on or something good in the world, a promo, kind of the same thing, or a parting shot where you can just go off on something you've seen, heard about, or whatever.
I'm mad I didn't get to bring my ukulele. I offered. Harper said that, this show needed a band. I volunteered. Yeah. I could have brought a guitar. Like, I was ready to go, and I got shut down.
I did.
I joined the program at the last minute.
Yeah.
Stepped up to be a good friend, a good colleague, and I just get denied right out of the gate. It's been a very frustrating evening for yours truly.
You know what? Here's the thing too, and I do feel bad about that. I don't like stifling creativity, and that's exactly what we did. But I made a producer's decision. I got a little scared that maybe we're drifting too far away from a tried and true format, and I admit it. I lost my nerve, Kara. I got a little nervous, and maybe next time, maybe I'll learn from that experience, and we'll have the ukulele onto the show.
I mean, maybe. If not, you can just do the same thing over and over again, run it up the middle, see how well that works for you.
Oh my God. The decision has been compared to running up the middle and losing 2 yards. That hurts so bad.
I, for one, am fine with anyone with any musical ability showing it off on this show. It won't be me, though.
Please say guest and not Jeremy, because he will break out the kazoo. Shane, tell us, what do you have for your plug, promo, parting shot?
I'll just do the regular plug for, dnronline.com/sports. You can read about JMU and the entire Sun Belt, and just check it out.
Oh, we all do. I enjoyed your latest stuff from the DNR. It was nice. Good stuff.
All right. Well, thank you.
It was their Sun Belt Roundup. Very nice.
I was going to say, you were very vague on that. It made me think you didn't actually read it.
I was searching my memory, rolling through that Rolodex, trying to remember what it was about. But yes, it was good stuff.
I'm just plugging the show. FunBelt PC on the X. Still weird saying that. FunBeltPodcast.com to get to the Believe Network, where you can find all of our back catalog episodes. And then we have a YouTube channel for FunBelt Podcast, where you can actually see us make a mockery of journalism, podcasting, and the good old FunBelt.
Hey, I'm going to jump back in quickly. Sorry, Harper.
Sure.
I do want to throw out one plug. Yesterday Wednesday on the Workday Red Zone, we talked with A-State men's basketball coach Brian Hodson. First-year head coach. It is about to be hoops season, so it's time to start having hoops conversations and thinking hoops thoughts, and really enjoyed that chat, and everyone can find it right now at 953theticket.com.
Yes. It's going to be time for hoops, and nobody's more excited than Shane Metlin.
Is he back to talk to you yet, Jeremy?
Yeah, he did talk to me. I was sitting there drinking a beer at the last home game, kind of watching the practice or like the warm-ups, and Brian Hodgson walked past me. He was on his way to the field because he likes to hang out on the field before the game and talk with the players and with the coaches. And I said, "How's it going, Brian?" He looked at me drinking the beer. He said, "I'll be monitoring your tweets tonight."
Did you already make him mad?
Yeah, every now and then I'll kind of like I take some liberties with some of his quotes, and I guess I did. I don't take good notes, and so he will direct message me and say, "Hey, that's not what I said." I'll be like, "Oh, sorry if I got that wrong," and then he kind of ignores me. So I don't know. I can't tell if he's mad at me or not. So I guess we'll see.
Jeremy, what do you have to bring it home for this episode?
So on Hellraiser, Red Wolves have their bye week. So this is the halfway point of the season. Red Wolves are 3-3. Some people thought they'd be better. Some people thought they'd be worse. It's really kind of hard to say where the team is. I have a few observations in an article titled "Red Wolves are undefeated this season when the team scores a touchdown," and additional midseason observations. So yes, anytime Arkansas State scores a touchdown, Arkansas State wins. When Arkansas State does not score a touchdown, we lose. So that is one observation. There are 4 more observations to take a look at. Check it out. I could use the clicks. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm glad Kara was here. It kind of dissipated the skunk funk that you bring, Jeremy.
I know. Well, it brings an air of legitimacy that Shane used to bring, but now we've got like a fresh air of legitimacy from Kara Richey. So I feel really good about that.
Nobody who has been listening to me talk this season thinks that there is anything legitimate going on. I've not been in mid-season form this year by any stretch.
You could have fooled me.
No, it's I gotta step my game up. I did kind of shut my brain off for the bye week, so I hope that everything made sense tonight. But well,
if not, you're at the right place.
All right, good.
That's right. There's a lot of idiotic opinions and a lot of clever editing too. So you've got that going for you.
Just make me sound smart, please.